Let's see how to work with pagination for API response in Power Automate Desktop. So what is pagination? Pagination is the process of dividing a large amount of data into multiple pages so that it is easy to process, easy to capture, easy to work with. Okay, so think of like it as a book which has multiple pages. So why the book has multiple pages? Because one page is not enough to hold all the data. So that's why we divide into multiple pages, right? So similarly, when you hit an API, you get response, but suppose the response has multiple data, multiple rows of data, large amount of data, like thousands and thousands of data. So how will API send all the data in one go? So it cannot do, right? So it's sending it in chunks. Okay, so it's sending it in chunks like this, page by page. Okay, so it first it will send the first page, then next page, and so on. So there are some settings in Power Automate which, if you enable, it will send the data in pages, multiple pages. Okay, so this is like the server side pagination. So server decides how many records to send in a single response. So when the data set is larger than the maximum page size, the server includes an O data next link attribute, which I will show in the demo. So that link contains a skip token or continuation token. So that basically it is like a flag, okay, or indicator which says that you still have more data to read, right? So usually what happens when we hit a API, we get only first page. Okay, but don't stop there. So we need to get all the data, right? So page by page. Okay, so that's why we need some attribute which we can uh, check in our code, through our code, that if the data which is sent by API is has reached the end or still some data is pending. So how do we check that in our code? So we in our code we put a if condition, okay, or we put a do until, and do until will keep looping till this link is sent no more sent in the API response. So if there is no next link, means there is no next data, no next page. Okay, so this is very important. So the client, that means our app or our Power Apps or Power Automate, is responsible for doing the pagination. Okay, I mean reading the page, all the pages, getting all the records. Correct. So the pagination logic originates on the server, but the client must implement the loop to consume all pages. The client must look for this attribute or data next link to read all the pages. Okay. Now these are the common connectors which has inbuilt OData next link attribute. Okay, so this will be given by the server when you hit this APIs like data words, graph API, Excel online server, SQL server, and so on. Some connectors don't send OData next link. So in detail, OData next link element is required when the API returns this attribute. Okay, and when using the list records action in the Dataverse connector, enabling pagination allows you to retrieve more than the default 5000 rows. Okay, and you can set a threshold for the number of rows to retrieve. Sometimes the OData next link is not always present, so you have to think of some way as to find some indicator which will help you in implementing the pagination logic. Okay, so this is the continuation of that connectors and OData. Okay, and the action name, like which action will return the rows. Okay, like list rows in data words. Okay, list records, get items, get files in SharePoint, and OData next link is part of the OData protocol. Okay, it's like a REST API protocol. So in the API response, you will get like this. So this is what we require. Okay, so this is the description on our database connectors. Okay, so non-OData connectors don't return OData next link. So we have to find some other way to implement pagination. Okay, so more details on that. So this I have put through so that it is in one place and it's very handy to refer later. Okay, and this is how pagination works in Excel Online. Like we can use OData next link, or we can enable pagination in the action settings. But the preferred way is to implement a do until loop so that you have more control over the pagination thing. Okay, so this is the first option. This is the second option. Okay, this is a sample JSON response as I said earlier. So this tells you where to continue fetching those. Means if this link is no more given in the or sent in the response, it will, you don't need to check for it. You means your data is empty. No more page is available, right? So this is the pagination settings which I already explained in details. Now coming to Power Automate desktop, there is no built-in pagination toggle like in Cloud Flows. So you must implement using do until or some looping mechanism. Okay, so this I will show you now in Power Automate desktop. Okay, so let's go to Power Automate. So here I have this code. Okay, okay, so this I have this code I've developed for pagination, and this I'm using a Graph API URL. Okay, so this is my Graph API URL. Okay, okay, this is my Graph API URL. This is my complete code. Okay, say I'm sending HTTP request, then custom convert JSON to custom object, just set variable, and so on. Okay, okay, so there is one more looping I am doing. Okay, so this looping is required to check for OData next link. So if OData next link is empty, then I will exit the loop. Okay, so this is the complete code. Okay, and from where you get the send an HTTP request, so I have used Office 365. Okay, so you search for Office 365 in these actions. Okay, here. Okay, so in this connections, in this actions, you have to search for send an HTTP request. You scroll down, you see here, right? This one, send an HTTP request. So what it does, it constructs a graph API. Okay, now coming to this, so this code is very simple. So I'm setting a variable and sending a HTTP request to this URL. That is a graph URL. So it will send me all the emails in my inbox. But my inbox has more than 1,000 mails, right? So it will send in pages. Okay, but in one single API call, it will only return 10 items, 10 emails. Okay, so how do I get the next set of pages? So for that, I need to loop. I need to check for this parameter, OData next link in the API response. You see here, I have run this API send an HTTP request. So I have this. emails, set of list of emails. Okay, all these are emails, subject, all these details are given in this response. So these are around 10 emails. Okay, in first page. Okay, for the next set of page, it has given me a OData next list. Okay, so if you see here, this is the one. Okay, so this is the important thing. So how I'm looping and checking if this OData next link is present or not. If it is present, then this URL tells me that this is the, then you need to invoke this URL for getting the next set of pages. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, so this link always changes, means this will change in every API call. So if suppose this property is not present in the next API call, that means this is empty, means there is no more data present, means all the pages has been fetched. Okay, so this is how I am running the code. Okay, so if I run it, so it will keep on looping. Okay, as you can see here in the first, it will send and fetch first set of pages of emails, like 10 emails in first page. Then it will check for all the 10 records, then it will see whether how many records are present. Okay, then it will assign the uh, uh, next set of pages. Okay, so once it is empty, it will stop the loop. So I hope this is useful. So thank you so much for watching.